But joining us now to break down the state of the race and what comes next for Republicans in Congress is Representative Jody Hice, the congressman serving Georgia's 10th congressional district. So, Congressman, I first want to ask, we all know that it's going to come down to Georgia for Senate control. We've heard about how important it is and really the checks and balances that could be provided on the executive, whoever does end up winning. So I want to ask you, how important is Senate control from someone who is in Congress?
Oh, I mean, listen, it's unquestionably, it's enormous now, probably more than at any other point in our nation's history. We have a Democratic Party, frankly, that's fallen off the wagon with their socialist, radical, even Marxist ideology. And, the importance of keeping the Senate under control of Republicans right now has never been more important. And I believe we're going to do that. And as you mentioned, Georgia is right here, the epicenter of it all right now.
And it's an exciting time, I'm sure, especially for you, too, because it's your home state and you're looking at what's happening firsthand. But to the point about Senate and how important it is, we're talking no Neil Gorsuch, no Brett Kavanaugh, no Justice Amy Coney Barrett on the Supreme Court if Republicans don't have control of the Senate, no tax cuts, no federal judges. The list goes on and on of really how important the Senate has been over the past 4 years. But when we look at the state of Georgia, I think the money coming into it, this race, will also show how important it is. I remember when John Ossoff ran against Karen Handel, the most expensive congressional race in all time. Do you suspect that'll be the case this time as well?
Oh, there's no question about it. It's already pouring in. We're hearing estimates of as much as $1 billion to be spent here. Now, I don't know if it's going to be that much or not. We'll wait and see. But there's no question it's going to be an unthinkable amount of money pouring in here on both sides, because both sides recognize the importance of this. The balance of our country, the future of our country, hangs in the balance on this Senate race in many regards. And of course, I will say, Alex, too, we're still dealing with a presidential election right here. That is by no means over either. So right now you've got a lot of factors, a lot of issues that are taking place here in Georgia, the Senate just being one of them.
Right, and of course there's a hand recount going on as we speak right now, and that's assuming that there's no additional litigation that takes place sometime between now and January 20th, one could presume. But when we talk about the possibility of $1 billion, or even if it's not that much, we know that there's going to be a lot of money in this race regardless. Where does that money go? Is it about setting up infrastructure in the state? Is it about campaign ads? Is it about billboards? Where does that type of money go to?
Yeah, it's absolutely all of the above. It's obviously television and cable and your social media, your mail pieces, all those types of typical things, paying staff to get door knocks and phone calls and all those sorts of things. But this is going to be a nonstop barrage of political advertisement from every imaginable scenario that you can think of, and the infrastructure to try to pull it off to get this grassroots back out. Obviously, at the end of the day, the one with the most votes win. So both sides are going to be doing everything they can, from infrastructure to ads, to make sure that they get their side out to vote.
And in fact, I'm looking at my phone right now, and just over the past couple of hours, I've got emails from the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, the Warnock campaign, the Loeffler campaign. I mean, they are sending out campaign emails, making sure that everybody who wants to be involved in this race has an opportunity to do so. So I think we're going to see a lot of real enthusiasm coming behind this race as well. But I do want to pivot down to the House of Representatives as well. Of course, you just won your re-election. Congratulations, by the way. I should have started with that. But when we talk about what Republicans have been able to do this election cycle, you have been able to chip away at the Democratic majority in the lower chamber. And oftentimes that means that you'll have more influence over committee assignments, maybe not the speaker role or anything like that, but you do have some more influence now. So where do you think that should be focused on?
Yeah, it's a great question. And listen, that in itself brings up a lot of information. We were told that we were not going to pick up seats. In fact, we would lose as many as 25 seats. That did not happen. We were told we were going to lose the Senate. That did not happen. There was not a single, this is very interesting, not a single Republican incumbent lost in the entire nation. I mean, that's pretty stunning. And yet we picked up probably at the end of the day about 13 seats that we have flipped. So that gives a razor thin majority. And by the way, you say you include all those kinds of things, plus the fact on the presidential side that the president got 9 million more votes than he did 4 years ago. The numbers don't add up. I mean, that's why we're still in this recount here in Georgia over the presidential race. But yeah, listen, this is razor thin, the majority that Nancy Pelosi has. That gives us some great opportunity to prevent her radical agenda from being forced down the throats of the American people. And I can assure you, we will be doing everything in our power to make sure that that happens and they do not continue to advance their attempts to turn this into a socialist country.
And Congressman, before I let you go too, we've heard about reports of bitter infighting in the Democratic Party as of recently, most notably between Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who says she's going to be campaigning in Georgia, as well as Speaker Pelosi. Do you think that Speaker Pelosi will be able to hold on to her title?
It's going to be razor thin. I mean, there's no question. There's a lot of infighting within the Democratic Party right now, and a lot of push and shove, a lot of vying for power. And so it's going to be very interesting. At the same time, we have picked up a lot of seats. We've picked up a lot of power, a lot of influence. And so it's going to be extremely, extremely difficult for Nancy Pelosi to navigate her way through all of this.
Yeah, I mean, she's having a hard time navigating throughout her own party, let alone the prospect of negotiating with Republicans or anything like that. So it'll be an interesting whole situation to keep an ie on for now. But Representative Jody Hice, it's always a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for breaking down what's happening in the state of Georgia, as well as what we can expect moving forward. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.